Good evening everybody and welcome to another round of the F1 2019 ILR PC Championship, and today the calendar takes us for the 17th round at the Japan Grand Prix, the Suzuka International Circuit. 18 corners in the only figure of 8 track on the F1 calendar. 5.8 kilometers each lap is going to be repeated 27 times this afternoon. Of course, a legendary circuit, some of the most famous corners of the calendar in this circuit. A circuit that has seen plenty of rivalries develop throughout the years. Of course, the place where Ayrton Senna clinched his first world title. And speaking of world titles, we might have one being decided today. There is a 104 point gap between Kruzix and Shadow. If that gap is maintained by the end of the Grand Prix, Shadow can become the world champion. Kruzix in between the championship, as I've mentioned, Andy Nater in P3, Lehman in P4 with 116 points. Blacksits closes top 5 with 105. 11 points behind is Infamous in 6th place, followed by Iceman. Curly in P8, 4 points ahead of J. Cole, as JSR, second best of our reserve drivers, closes the top 10. Moving on to the constructors standings, we have the Renault F1 team with 373 points. Red Bull, the Milton Keynes boys, follow in P2 with 201, followed by Woking-based McLaren in P3. The Alfa Romeo team is in P4, followed by Silverstone-based Racing Point, 4 points behind, who completes the top 5. Then we have the Groove-based Williams team, followed by Mercedes in 7th place with 72 points, 11 ahead of the American-based Haas, followed by Ferrari with 24 points, followed by the fellow Italians at Toro Rosso with 21 points, sitting in the last place of the standings. So with that, we can get started with our qualifying session for the Japanese Grand Prix. So just getting everything sorted out on my second monitor, and yeah, there we have it. We are ready to get ourselves started. Just put the message. Okay, so yeah, just something popped up on my second monitor, just sorted that out. And the session has started, as you guys can see, and some of our drivers are already out on track. Just going to try to figure out who is the car that is closest to the start of his lap. I believe it's Marky Mark on the yards, our reserve driver, the Dane, who got himself a 15th place on his debut at Belgium, and then improved on his second race of the season at Singapore with an 8th place finish. Let's see what he can do today. He's going to start the qualifying on the yards, even though I believe it's only a practice lap, because for this race, the soft to medium or medium to soft strategy is perfectly fine, unless of course someone has some mishaps and has to pit earlier than expected. Then the hards might be the ones utilized until the end of the Grand Prix. Nonetheless, we have Marky Mark started with his lap. Corporal Carrot is indeed further up. Cisco is in the wall there at the exit of turn number 3, I believe that was, or 4. He gets now up the hill through turn 7. Very long Dunlop corner. The very long left-hander at the end of sector 1. Completes it in 34 seconds, getting through the very tricky Degnas 1 and 2. Turns 9 and 10. Now going uphill through the slight right-hand kink and going hard on the brakes into the hairpin. Let's see how it goes now for him as he puts the throttle down. He has a Mercedes right behind him, who I believe is faster, so he might be closing in. He might be, unfortunately for that Mercedes, he might be in the way of him coming to the last few corners as he approaches now the spun curve, which are officially turns 13 and 14, and now the very long approach. Full beans from the power unit, mode 5 of ERS. Of course, he has the Mercedes there on the slipstream. They're actually going to be racing into 130R. No backing down from Copper Carrots. It's not his fault. It's the Mercedes' fault for not managing the gap properly. As Curly gets himself the best time so far as he crosses the line first with a 1:28.6. Copper Carrot in P2 with a 1:32. 1:32. I believe Marky Mark is up next as he now gets through the Casio Triangle. Turns 16, 17 and 18. Crosses over the line, P2 on those hards, 1:30.0. Black Panther is still in second sector. Gelbavand is coming through the hairpin. Cryptic crosses the line with a lap invalidation, unfortunately for him. We're just trying to figure out who might be the next one to complete a lap. We have Lehman in the Williams coming through the last few corners. He's going to open the RS, cross over the line, and the game is trolling me. So I'm not getting the updated time because the host is migrating. So not sure if the game is just having a moment, if it's going to recover from that. But until then, we don't get the lap time from some of these drivers. We have Archie, we also crossed the line. We have Jake, or Shadow, our championship leader, who's doing his debut for the Williams, because Shadow and Blitzkrieg swapped positions. So Jake is driving for the Williams, Blitzkrieg is driving for the Renault today. Nonetheless, the battle for the Drivers' Championship still stands. Jake can still become the Drivers' Champion if he beats the man that just got pole, Kruzix. Looks like the lobby recovered, so all of those drivers that crossed the line got their laps nullified. Kruzix is now the provisory pole sitter with 1:27.8. That's going to be quite tricky for some of these drivers. Black Panther completed his lap, didn't get it registered. Ace of Spades didn't get it either. He's back down to mode 0 of ERS. Archie's coming back to the pits. Andy Nater doing the same. Lehman also got his lap without being registered, but J. Cole on the mediums is pushing for it. He's going to try to get himself on the board. Cisco got a 3-minute lap time due to his mistake, so the Portuguese driver has some work to do for sure. Let's see how it goes for the McLaren of J. Cole, who's still doing some good results. He's not really getting the podiums of his teammates in the past 5 races. Nonetheless, he's consistently in the point scoring positions. Let's see what he does. P4 for the time being with a 1:29.0. Pretty competitive lap, I would say, for mediums. So he is looking to start in the top 10 with those mediums and try to do the reverse one stop. In the meantime, some of our drivers are doing their preparation laps as Entity, Gelbavand, and the other Haas of Kaibashimi getting out of the pits in quick succession. Kaibashimi is going to be the one that's closest to start the lap, and Shadow says that he thinks his internet is down, which is unfortunate. But yeah, yes, the host has migrated, so whenever you can join, try to rejoin. We still have 10 minutes, just over 10 minutes. Your brother turned the router off. That's a nice brother. I know the struggle. I can tell, I sympathize with your pain. Nonetheless, Kaibashimi is going to start his lap. We're going on board with the number 14 of the Haas, the youngster, who unfortunately just missed out on points at Russia after a nasty collision with Ace of Spades that terminated the race of the Ferrari driver. As the Haas and the Ferrari came together through the very long turn 4, no one wanted to back down. They locked wheels and got thrown into the wall. He gets himself now trying to reset his mentality for this Grand Prix. Surely he can do better and get some points today. He gets himself to the end of Sector 1 through a full commitment through the first and second Degnas. Unfortunately, we just got the outlap visual glitch. He's certainly not on an outlap. Neither is Entity or Gelbavand. None of them have posted a lap time just yet, as Bird gets himself P2 with a 1:28.3. I believe his first attempt was the one that got blocked by Corporal Carrot. Superior GR also gets P8 on the softs to 1:30.7. Blitzkrieg P4 with 1:28.7. Cryptic still in P6, the reserve driver that got 9th place on his debut at Russia, managing to save some points despite getting wing damage in a battle for 7th place, if I'm not mistaken, with Entity. Looking to the Haas, not of Entity, but Kaibashimi, as he's about to wrap up his lap. Let's see how it does. Going to open the RS, going to cross over the line. It's going to be a lap time of P5, a 1:29.005. Very nicely done from them as Entity is going to be the next one to cross the line. Galbavant not too far behind is the German, though we have the Slovenian get P8 for the time being. The Red Bull gets P7 with a 129.1 on those slots. Very close to J. Cole's time on the mediums. Was also very close to Kai Bashimi's lap time. We have another bunch of drivers on their out laps. Archie just started the lap. Andy Nater just started the lap. Lehman as well. Archie, yeah, it's approaching turns 1 and 2. We're going to follow Andy Nater, who I believe is the driver that's closest to completing a lap. We have Curly also started with his lap already. He's actually in sector 2, so he's going to be completing his lap before all others. Let's follow the Swiss driver for a little bit. He has gotten his occasional podium appearance. He got second place on his debut at Spain. Then he followed up with a win at the Monaco Grand Prix. Then he came back to the podium at the German Grand Prix. Hasn't been in the top 5 ever since. DNF at Hungary, 8th place at Belgium, 11th at Italy. Wasn't able to attend Singapore, and 7th place at Russia. The Racing Point driver surely wants to make of this Grand Prix a good opportunity to come back to a good form. Let's see how he does. Currently P3 is the rating coming out of the last corner. Is he going to improve though? Yes, he does. A 128.2 promotes him up to 2nd place. Andy Nater is going to be next one to cross the line, I believe. Let's see how it goes for him. Entity is taking his Haas back into the pits. The McLaren is going to cross over the line. P2 with a 127.8, 3,000ths of a second separate him from P2 as Lehman takes the new provisory pole. 127.688 is the time from the Polish driver. Takes himself the best seat in the house for a good result in the race. Shadow, in the meantime, got his I forgot the word. Got his lap going again. So let's see what he does. As Archie gets himself P7 in the meantime. J. Cole demoted to P9. Gilbovant closes top 10 now. Ace of Spades and Cisco struggling. Shadow gets P4 as that was Black Panther, I believe, losing the rear coming out of the last corner. He's going to be 18th place with a 144, of course, after that incident. Jake, who's making his debut without the racing line, with a 128.0, not as fast as Cruising, so I'm pretty sure he's been pushing as hard as he can the entire week to get himself in tip-top shape for this Grand Prix. Ooh, a bit of a tank slapper there from the Red Bull. Let's see how it goes. I believe we have Blitzkrieg pushing. Is he coming to the pits? Looks like he cut there the chicane. Not sure if he's going to improve though. He's coming over the line. 28.3. Yes, he does. 14th improvement. Up to P6 goes the German. Very nicely done from him indeed. Taking a look now at the rest of the timetable. I don't think there is anyone on a flying lap at the moment. Maybe Ace of Spades, as he perhaps nullified his previous lap. He got that 139, but I'm not sure. Yeah, he's ran out of fuel. His car is going very slowly, stopping actually. I'm not sure what's going on. That was mighty dangerous there. But yeah, I'm not sure what happened to him. But Ace of Spades has retired from the session. And he's in the pit. So maybe a lag moment. I'm not sure. But yeah, Black Panther is coming through to the pit lane to get his front wing replaced and to get a new set of tires. As we have just under 5 minutes left. J. Cole going very slowly. Galbovant comes through to prepare his flying lap. Bird has started a flying lap of his own, so let's follow the British driver along this lap. Bird, who got himself a win on his debut at Hockenheim, unfortunately hasn't been able to get any podium appearances since a DNF at Hungary, 9th place at Belgium, 5th place at Italy, 6th at Singapore, and the DNF at Russia. So let's see what he's able to do this time around. J. Cole also started his lap. Gilbovant just started his lap, so we're going to catch up with him soon. Ace of Spades looks like he had disconnected. He's joined back, so he still has time, hopefully, to try to improve on that 18th place. What Bird does, he navigates now turn 16, 17, and the long right-hander of turn 18 is actually going to abort his lap. He's going to bring it to the pits. J. Cole improving by half a second almost, according to the live timing, as he's currently approaching turn number 11, the hairpin, getting through the very long right-hander of turn 12 up through the gears, mode 5 of ERS, before approaching the very tricky spoon curve. You have 2 moments of braking action into this corner. You need to be smooth on the throttle as well coming out, because the track goes downhill a slight bit, which promotes slippiness from the rear tires. J. Cole getting himself now through 130R. Watch the full commitment of the McLaren as he tries to be smooth as possible to maintain the highest possible apex speed, going hard on the brakes to the chicane. And now he needs to be mindful of the bump coming out of the last corner. He does get himself through the line. P4 on a 1:28.002. Very good lap from the McLaren. Gilbevand in the meantime made a mistake and is out of the qualifying session. Collided with a wall somewhere. The Red Bull, unfortunately, best case scenario, is going to start from P11. In the meantime, we have Superior GR who just started his lap. We have Corporal Carrot also on a lap of his own. Let's see how that one goes for him. They are both sitting in 15th and 16th. The Toro Rosso team, who hasn't scored any points since the 6th place from Corporal Carrot at the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. So they haven't scored any points since the 4th race of the calendar. Let's see how it goes. As Entity is also retired from the session. We have yellow flags in sector 1, so maybe a mistake from the Slovenian as well, which is not the greatest view. Fortunate to wait to see it, but it does happen. When you are on the limit, sometimes you just go over it. And Cisco also retires from the session. Maybe a mistake from him as well. Corporal Carrot, though, is going to take his Toro Rosso through the line. 14th improvement, not enough to beat his teammates. The Greek Superior GR is coming through the very long approach to 130R. He's going to be completing his lap soon. Let's see what he's posting at the end of sector 2. He's not improving, so maybe nullified his lap. He's on mode 0 of ERS, so he's going to try to give it a go later on. We have Lehman and Archie on a lap. I believe it is, yeah, Archie is closer to the end of the lap, so let's see what the reserve driver does today. Archie got himself best debut of 5th place at Russia, and he gets himself a half a second improvement, only beats his teammate, gets promoted to P8, very close to Blitzkrieg's lap time as well. So very close group of drivers here today. We have Kaibashimi who just started his lap. We have Cryptic who might be close to the end of his lap, not as close as Lehman, I believe. So let's follow the Williams driver. Let's see what he does as he's pushing now towards the chicane. There's a slow car ahead of him. That's Kruzix, who's preparing his lap. He needs to get a move on. Ooh, Lehman might have cut that chicane. Not sure if that's going to fly with the stewards. As he's going to cross over the line, is it an improvement? Yes, it is! 27.4. Beautiful lap from Lehman. Very nicely done indeed. Kruzix and Aninator start their lap. Bird still through sector 1. Cryptic is going to be the next one to cross over the line to set a lap time unless it gets nullified. He's improving by almost 6/10 as he approaches the chicane. Going to cross over the line. Improvement just a bit less than that. Nonetheless, gets him into the top 10. At least so far. As the checkered flag gets waved to Ace of Spades and Corporal Carrot won't be able to improve their positions. Marky Mark currently flying through sector number 2 as he approaches turn 11. Coming out of it, Curly gets himself a lap time of 1:28.0, promotes himself up to P6, Superior GR maintains P16, Blitzkrieg crosses the line with P7 for the time being. Bird in sector 2, we are going to follow him, see what he does. Going to try to compare him to Endinator and Kruzix, who are very close to each other. Ooh, a bit of dust there as Archie has retired from the session. He's satisfied with his lap time. 8th place is the best case scenario for him. Let's see how it goes. J. Cole has also retired from the session. The Mercedes crosses over the line, beats the German to get himself P7 for the time being. Shadow in P2. Kruzix and Endinator are going to be crossing over the line. Coming up, will Kruzix get ahead of the title contender? No, he does not. He's going to start from P3. Endinator aborts his lap time. We have Black Panther coming to the pits in 14th, and we have Cryptic, who is not pushing. So I believe qualifying session is over. Look at how close that was for that top two. Sorry, not top two, but from second to fourth. Very close stuff indeed. Endinator unfortunately aborted this lap. But Cruzix, crucially for him perhaps, is starting from P3. Front row lockout from the Williams for the first time this season. Shadow, who has been racing the entire season for the Renault team, is now a Williams driver. So let's see how that one goes for them. Shadow is going to try to clinch the championship this afternoon. So just waiting for the game to realize that the session is indeed over. Let's see how that one goes. Just popped up on my second monitor. Okay. Okay. Yeah, qualifying is over already. The game finally realized. Thank you, Codemasters, for the experience points. There you have it. Lehman on pole. Look at that. Within the same tenth of a second. P2, P3, and P4. J. Cole, 5 tenths away from pole. Curly, not too far behind, is going to start from the third row of the grid. Bird and Blitzkrieg in the fourth row. Archie and Marky Mark compose the fifth row. Then we have Kaibashimi, best of the drivers with free choice of tires, followed by Cryptic, Galbovan, Black Panther, NTT, Superior GR, Couple Carrot, Cisco, and Ace of Spades make a Ferrari lockout of the last row of the grid. Let's see how it goes. Apparently Shadow says in chat that it's going to be a wet race, which is not the greatest for his debut without the racing line. So let's see how it goes. The skies were threatening to qualifying, but it's going to be a very exciting race with the weather affecting it, no doubt. So let's see how it goes, as Cryptic is going to try to keep his title hopes alive. If the gap is above 104 points by the end of the race, Shadow becomes the newest ILR PC champion. So just a few seconds while the mechanics, the engineers and drivers sort out the strategies. So of course it's going to be intermediates. I don't know how long the intermediates are going to be used for. I don't know when the rain is going to stop, but I do know that intermediates are expected to last about the same amount of laps as the medium tires, so about 15 laps I would say, maybe going to lap 17, but yeah, of course after lap 10 I do believe the drivers are going to start having feeling the tire wear, especially if the rain intensifies. So let's see how that one goes, as it is front row lockout from our Williams team, which is something we haven't seen in a while. Well, not at all this season, but Lehman has gotten himself 2 wins in a row, one at Hungary, the other at Belgium, then a second place at Italy. Unfortunately wasn't able to attend Singapore and Russia, but Lehman has already gotten 4 podiums this season, going back to his second place at Bahrain, and he is going surely to be one of the favorites for the win at the end of this Grand Prix. So Shadow is going to work for it if he wants to wrap up the topic of the battle for the title today. He's going to have to beat the Polish driver, so going to be interesting to see if Shadow goes on the offensive earlier on, or if he just wants to outscore Cruzix and hope that Cruzix makes a mistake so that he doesn't have to take the battle to the Autódromo Hermanos Rodriguez. In the meantime, Lehman is already gotten his car controlled by autopilot, as there are 2 cars already on the grid. I suppose they collided through the formation lap, so they won't have an opportunity to warm up their tires. It is not Shadow. It looked to me like a Williams for a second, but it is not. And it is Bird and Blitzkrieg, I believe. Yeah, Bird and Blitzkrieg came together, so they are not going to be able to warm up their tires. Archie right behind his teammates, not in position of course, but in track placement. So let's see how it goes. Kaibashimi, unfortunately, won't be able to take into advantage or to make use of the advantage of the fresh tires, because everyone is on fresh intermediates. Let's see how this goes. Very soon we are going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 red lights. Lights out, and away we go for the Japanese Grand Prix. Good start from Marky Mark there at the back. Good start from Lehman and from Shadow. Kruzix maintains P3, and Dinator is going to challenge that into turns 1 and 2. Curly also side by side with the other McLaren, and Dinator might claim P3. Is going to take himself alongside to turn number 3. Claims it so for himself. Curly in P4, J. Cole P6. Bird is going to try to stick his nose in there. He's not capable of doing so. His teammate right behind in P8. Marky Mark in P9, Blitzkrieg drops to P10, Kaimashimi maintains himself in P11 as we have a spin. That's Black Panther who makes a spin and is down to the last few spots. Cisco also going very slowly and already has damage in his front wing. Looks like trouble for the Portuguese once again. Lehman leads from Shadow and Andinator. Kruzix in P4 as they orderly gets themselves to the airpin. Ooh, look at that. Curly getting a bit brave, trying to outbreak his rival. Marky Mark did that so much more aggressively. It's going to be a drag race now, a traction battle. Ooh, the Alfa Romeo almost went into the grass. That could have been disastrous for his race aspirations. Archie is going to control the line on the outside of the spoon curve, goes a bit wide, doesn't give the space to the Alfa Romeo to stick his nose in there, and is going to maintain P8 for the time being. Lehman is already gaining a couple car lengths on Shadow, making use of his speed. And Dinator, a bit wide at 130R. Kruzix does the same. He needs to try to bring the battle to the McLaren. He needs to try to keep his title hopes alive. Cryptic and Gilbovan, the German and the Renault driver, the German and the Norwegian, come to blows as the Renault reserve driver gets himself P12. Kaibashimi a bit further up the order. Entity is coming under attack from Superior GR. Looks like the Greek is going to take the outside line into turns 1 and 2. J. Cole and Bird also come to blows. Ace of Spades is out. J. Cole loses a place and Blitzkrieg takes 10th place from Marky Mark. There is Kaibashimi on the background trying to capitalize on that. Entity and Superior GR are still battling it out. Entity, the Slovenian, maintains his P14. Looking back at the front, Lehman, a couple car lengths on Shadow yet, and Andinator has closed in on Shadow compared to the previous lap. Kruzix also closed in on Andinator, so these top 3, top 5 are starting to bunch up a little bit. Bird is sustaining some pressure from J. Cole, who just got overtaken by the number 87 at the beginning of this lap. So let's see how that one goes, as we have yellow flags in Sector 3, no idea what's going on. Maybe Cisco, who still hasn't pitted, despite having considerable amounts of damage. Black Panther is caught up to the back of Corporal Carrot after his mistake. Archie a bit struggling a little bit there in 8th place, leaving J. Cole's gap to increase. J. Cole is also not keeping up with the pace of Bird, who is right at the back of iCurly, so you might have a battle coming into the next few corners. Lehman still leading, Shadow in P2 and Dinator in P3. Kruzix, let's see, does he get better traction out of the corners? Lehman posts another fastest lap for what I believe is the second lap in a row. Kruzix is pushing, at least with the slipstream, despite carrying on mode 0 of ERS, so you obviously don't know the fuel mixture is on at the moment. And Bird has a go at Curly, catches the Swiss driver napping and claims P5. So the Mercedes has done a good job so far, so I'm trying to figure out where is the position changes. As you can see, Cryptic loses a lot of places. A mistake there from the Norwegian, down to 17th place. Blitzkrieg also dropping down places as he's going very slowly. Ooh, big mistake from Superior GR, who goes wide there through the S's. But Blitzkrieg and Cryptic, both Renaults, not having the desirable results from the start. Bird climbs 2 positions. J. Cole declines, or not declines, but goes down 2 positions. And Andinator claims P3 from Cruisix in the beginning of the Grand Prix. So let's see what drivers are more comfortable in the wet conditions, as Shadow is losing out on Lehman at this point, and Inator is also lost out a little bit on the McLaren. Cruisix still in P4. He needs to get it done at the moment. He needs to jump past the McLaren as quickly as he can so that he can put the pressure on his rivals. Gilbovan and Kaibashima are battling it out for P10. Superior GR and Blitzkrieg are also coming to blows as they're going side by side all the way into 130R. Black Panther has prime seat in the house to witness that battle. Let's see how that one goes. No one is backing out. Superior GR not as quick. Drops down to P14. He might come under pressure now from the Alfa Romeo. Kaibashima is in the wall. I'm not sure entirely what happened there, but there was certainly a moment there with Gilbovan. Not sure if there was contact or what happened, but certainly something pretty nasty, and Kaibashimi is missing his front wing. At least he's going to still be able to drive. Oh, he goes into a wall and he has retired. I understand the frustration, but that's not where he should retire, unfortunately. But Kaibashimi is out of the Grand Prix after a collision for the second straight race. Even though I don't think it's the best to retire at lap 4, because everything can happen, especially in a wet race like this. So I understand the frustration, but it's pretty sad to see the youngster give up on the race this early. Superior GR losing out a place to Black Panther. The Toro Rosso is sustaining some damage on the left side of his front wing. You can see the understeer there from the first diagonal, almost touched the gravel there on the outside. Shadow still outside of the 1 second to Lehman, and Inator still trying to hunt him down. Archie very close to J. Cole, who's also very close to Curly. We might have a three-way scrap for P6. Let's see how it goes. Let's see who gets the best exit out of the spoon corner. The Mercedes is going to take the double slipstream effect, certainly going to have an increase in top end speed. Of course, he's going on mode 0 of ERS. Curly loses the rear. Ooh, a couple snaps there of oversteer. Fortunately, was able to correct those. Archie taking a wide approach to the last corner, trying to straighten out the exit. And let's see, can he put the power down earlier than his opponents? He's going on mode 4 of ERS. J. Cole is going to have Curly to contend with, and Archie does simply has no room. Curly is going to send it down the inside of J. Cole. A bit of argy-bargy there. Clean racing though. Curly gets back to his P6. Brilliant battle there from all three of them, having the situational awareness to back out when necessary. For example, Archie just couldn't force the issue at that point. He simply had no space, and Curly, despite sending it down the inside, braking just early enough to make it rough to J. Cole, but also giving him the space necessary for the McLaren to carry on with his race. So brilliant piece of racing there from our drivers at that point. Marky Mark coming under pressure from Gilbovan, who extends the corner there, gets a slap on the wrist. 3 seconds of time penalty added to the Red Bull. Superior GR just does the same, potentially at the same corner. Let's see, Gilbovan is going to keep on pressurizing the Dane, the reserve driver of the Alfa Romeo. Ooh, tank slapper there from Gilbovan. He was pushing mode 4 of ERS, sends more power to the rear tires, and that sometimes is exactly what you do not need. J. Cole getting squeezed to the grass there, has to back off. Guy Curly, it might be 3 wide. No, it's not. Archie, what sensible driving from him, as J. Cole gets a bit too deep. He gets contact with, oh, there's a collision from them, and Curly has a penalty. Curly is out of the race. Archie gets collected in all that. J. Cole also has wing damage. All three of them taking a huge knock at their chances. Archie did what he could to get away from his rivals, but they got wrapped up on each other, and of course they just slid across the chicane, collected Archie, who by no fault of his own has to pit stop for a front wing replacement. J. Cole was also doing very well. He's going to replace his front wing. Curly is out of the Grand Prix. Very unfortunate for those three drivers. They were racing fairly each other, but J. Cole, I think J. Cole was the one who kicked everything off by going that wide at 130R. It didn't turn in enough by someone who was taking such a shallow angle to that corner. So unfortunately we end up witnessing a crash between all three of them. We're having a very entertaining battle for P6 at the time. Jumping back to the front, Kruzix still can't do much more than follow the rear wing of Endinator. At least Endinator isn't losing too much time to Shadow. Lehman has also been caught up by this trio. So, interesting stuff, no doubt. Black Panther hunting down Blitzkrieg as those two get promoted to the points-paying positions. Fortunately for them, off of the misfortunes of Curly, J. Cole and Archie. So, Cryptic also not having the brilliant, the best of races in 16th place as pitted for a second time. So it is very unfortunate to see Lehman, another fastest lap of the Grand Prix. Entity and Blitzkrieg, they might come to blows. It might be a three-way battle for P8. Blitzkrieg takes a bit of a more aggressive line there. He actually touches the curb. Surprising to see that he didn't lose the rear. Entity goes deep. The German says thank you very much. There's a collision with Entity who catches the car. Black Panther can't put the traction down quite as early as he wanted. Nonetheless, it's going to be enough to overtake the Slovenian. The Haas drops down to P10, but Black Panther is going to lose a couple car lengths to the German of the Renault. Kruzix still within half a second of Endinator. Of course, no DRS available for the drivers due to the atmospheric conditions. Ooh, a side, a slap, a tank slapper there from Endinator. Good reflexes from him to hold on to that. But Kruzix is now all over his rear diffuser. Endinator having a bit of wheel spin once again coming out of the corner. Kruzix mode for a VRS through there. His teammate earlier on the race had to catch a slide exactly on that same ERS setting. So let's see how that one goes. Kruzix's car looks like he's more stable. Maybe Kruzix is just more comfortable in the rain than what his teammate was. The reserve driver obviously maybe doesn't have too much experience with that Red Bull, but still doing a fair bit of good driving to keep himself in 7th place. Endinator just touches the curb, goes wide, breaks a bit early, lockup from Kruzix there, who's going to throw it at the outside. Could have turned into the inside, that didn't materialize into an opportunity. Ooh, and once again that nasty bump into turn number 18. Endinator and Kruzix having to go on counter-steering motions to avoid losing the place. That battle though is costing time to Kruzix, who desperately needs to get past Endinator. He might feel like he's quicker, just Endinator had a better start. Let's see how that one develops. Gelbovan in the meantime has caught up to Marky Mark. Blitzkrieg 3 seconds away with Black Panther right behind him. Let's see how that one goes between all of them. Let's see how that one develops. Entity 2 seconds behind them, so the Slovenian isn't as comfortable as the remaining drivers in the top 10. Superior GR and Culper Carrot have been able to capitalize on the misfortunes of others to get themselves P11 in P12. If there are more mistakes, it is possible for the Toro Rossos to claim their first points since Azerbaijan. Let's see how that one goes for them as Kruzix continues to be glued to Endinator. Another attempt at an overtake onto the airpin now. I think Kruzix is starting to lack a bit of patience at this point. Measuring the ERS battery charges, Kruzix has a massive advantage. Let's see how good is the exit from Kruzix. He touches the curb there, so he couldn't go on the throttle. Ooh, massive tank slapper there from Kruzix. Very well to catch the slide, but that certainly cost him at least 1/10 on Endinator. Looks like he's too far behind. Goes wides there. He's going to have to be careful, especially as the 100-meter marker sign got blown out on that collision between Archie, J. Cole and Curly. So, especially for Shadow, who's doing his debut without the racing line, he needs to go by feel on that braking zone. So it's going to be quite tricky for the Williams. At least that gives maybe some hope to the Red Bull that the Williams driver might make a mistake. As looking back, Gelbovan is closing in on Marky Mark. They're approximately at the same distance as Black Panther is from Blitzkrieg. So we have two distinct battles for position in similar conditions in terms of how close the drivers are to each other. Entity goes into the pits. The Pure GR claims P10, and pretty sure Entity is going to come out of the pits in about 14th, 15th place even. J. Cole also closing in on Archie. So also we might have a part 2 of this battle for position. But in the meantime, look at this. Due to the battling between Kruzix and Andinator, Kruzix now, he can't be too much on the offensive as he was before, because Bird is on the back of those two. Kruzix, if he's not careful, might end up dropping down to a P5. So the gap must not get above 10 points for Kruzix, because if Shadow gets P2, Shadow is going to claim 18 points, and Kruzix in P4 claims 12, if I am not mistaken. So it's going to be very close between those two. But once the battles stop for a little bit, I'm going to get the calculations done for the virtual standings if the race ended up as it is. PRGR with a penalty as he gets promoted to P10 off of the pit stop of Entity. Kruzix still giving his all to try to overtake Andinator. Lehman has pulled away from Shadow. Shadow has pulled away from the McLaren. Kruzix feels faster. Kruzix feels more comfortable. Marky Mark and Gelbovand come to blows, or they would if Marky Mark wouldn't come into the pits. He did, going to replace his intermediates, which I expected to last longer. Oh, he's actually going to replace his front wing. A bit of struggle there from Marky Mark, and that's explained. The Dane had front wing damage, Bird with a 3-second time penalty, unfortunately for him. Archie comes into the pit once more and is out of the race. He retires from the race, unfortunately. Marky Mark rejoins the track in pit 12, I believe. Cryptic loses another place to Cisco, as Cryptic is having an absolute nightmare of a race. He retires from the session on the track. That might prove a bit annoying for the front runners once they catch up to those cars that are being controlled by the AI. I wouldn't advise people to retire on the track. They should retire on the pit lane, but if it's not in the rules, then those are not going to be enforced. So this train from P1 to P5 continues to be formed and very competitive, but we also have Black Panther, Blitzkrieg and Gelbovand in close proximity to each other. We might have once again a three-way battle for P6, which is quite a coincidence, I believe. And let's see how it goes this time around. Last time we had a three-way battle for P6, it ended up in carnage. Let's see if these drivers are more well behaved. Blitzkrieg hunting down Gelbovand is closing in on the Red Bull. Black Panther is also keeping up with the German of the Renault since their battle with Entity. So Black Panther is doing what he can to maximize his chances of claiming a spot from the Renault. The Renault is on mode 0 of VRS. Black Panther was on mode 4. So he's doing what he can to keep himself close to his rivals, as Marky Mark and J. Cole come to blows. Corporal Carrot holding those two right behind him. Marky Mark has brand new tires. J. Cole also has fresher tires than the Toro Rosso. Alfa Romeo is going to pull to the inside into turns 1 and 2. J. Cole is trying to follow him. He sends it and he gets the move done. Very clean, brilliant maneuver there from them, as Gelbovand drops down to Blitzkrieg. Maybe a mistake at Dunlop, the very long turn 7. And Gelbovand drops a place. Black Panther now has to try to follow the rear wing of that Red Bull instead of the one from the Renault. Is going to send it down inside, a bit of a late move, but Gelbovand plays ball. He's going to try to come back with his superior traction perhaps. He does have good traction, he does have a superior exit, but let's see how that one goes, as Black Panther is right on the gearbox. Might we have another attempt? No, we have not. Gelbovand though breaks later than what he should have. Black Panther says thank you very much. 7th place for the Belgium driver, who has a bit of a tank slapper. Gelbovand actually ends up pushing him up the road as Bird gets himself into the pits. We have Gelbovand very, very close to Black Panther. Dirty Air might influence things at 130R. The German backs off from the rear of that Alfa Romeo, is going to keep it chill, going to try another time. Black Panther with a 5-second penalty for cutting the chicane. Blitzkrieg goes into the pits. Black Panther actually gets a better exit out of the chicane, so Gelbovan won't have a good opportunity to overtake this time around. Bird at such a big gap. These top 5 have such a big gap to the others that Bird came out of the pits still in P5, which is quite interesting to see. Ooh, a bit of a tank slapper there for Bird, as Blitzkrieg is going to rejoin the track. Ahead or behind Marky Mark? Maybe behind. It's going to be mighty close between both of them. Marky Mark is going to suddenly send it. Not enough. Blitzkrieg is going to have pressure from the Dane for sure. J. Cole lost out a little bit to the Dane in this previous lap, even though Marky Mark has 4 laps fresher tires. But it looks like he's comfortable in the rain. Just doesn't have that pure pace, but at least he's able to keep himself consistent. Might get himself some more points on his season for the reserve driver. Gelbovan still hunting down the other Alfa Romeo of the Belgian Black Panther. Let's see how that one develops. 7/10 separating both drivers at the moment, and Shadow gets a penalty. Ooh, that was so close. Andy Nater is going to the pits as well. Kruzix, this might be very, very important. He's going to potentially close in on Shadow. Maybe Andy Nater overtakes both of them with the undercut, but Andy Nater might have gotten himself a good opportunity. A bit of lack of communication there between Lehman and Shadow. Shadow had to brake abruptly to avoid the pit wall, because he surely didn't want to stack up behind his teammate, as Lehman and Andy Nater are going to come out of the pits. Will Bird have catch up to them? Looks like he actually lost a bit of time to Andy Nater, but yeah, the order still stands at the moment. It's still Lehman in P3, Andy Nater P4, Bird P5. So the undercut didn't work too well for Birds there, as we have Kruzix and Shadow mighty close to each other at this point. Kruzix is pushing his heart out. Shadow pushed, trying to keep up with Lehman, trying to wrap things up. And now he doesn't have as much of a battery charge as Shadow does. They are both on mode 4 and mode 5 respectively. So Kruzix wants to close in as hard as he can as they approach their pit window. Andy Nater, is he going to come out of Will Kruzix come out of the pits ahead or behind Andy Nater? Will Andy Nater in fact have undercut both Kruzix and Andy Nater, and will he jump from P4 to P2 when the dust settles down? Let's see how it goes. Kruzix a bit wider through 130R, but he's certainly pushing, locking up his front right. That could have ended disastrously. Fortunately, it did not. Shadow coming to the pits. Kruzix is carrying on. He's comfortable on these tires. It looks like he's going to push, going to bring it on another qualifying lap pace, I suppose, since that's how hard he's pushing at this point. Mode 4 as he carries down the straight. A bit wide there to turn 1. Let's see how well the mechanics work in the Williams garage. Shadow is serviced out of old intermediates in with the new. Bird gets the fastest lap. Might Shadow lose? He loses out to Andy Nater. Will he lose to Bird? Yes, he will! Bird with an amazing fastest lap gets past Shadow, and that is exactly what Williams driver didn't need, even though he's going to be carrying the slipstream in some of these more faster sections of the track. Kruzix will not. But Kruzix will also not have dirty air in front of him. He is certainly pushing as he goes a bit wide on the exit of the second Degna. But yeah, it's certainly going to be interesting to see what Kruzix can do at this point. Gelbovan, Black Panther and Superior GR go back into the pits. J. Cole carries on. Blitzkrieg and Marky Mark, they claim those spots. So another three-way battle for P6, which is I'm really enjoying all these coincidences. Every single time people are battling for P6, they have two cars in close proximity right behind. So let's see how that one develops. In the meantime, we're going to follow with Kruzix, as the German is looking to keep his title hopes alive. He did get himself better performances in the last 5 races, got himself a win at Singapore, got himself P3 at Russia's. Shadow claims the win at the Sochi Autodrome. But now let's see, Kruzix needs to be very careful. He is. No penalties for Kruzix, at least from the pit. While he comes into the pits, I'm going to take a look. He has a penalty. Lehman, no, not even a warning. Andy Nater has 2 penalties. Bird has a penalty. Shadow has 2 penalties. This is crucial for the chances of the German to keep his title hopes alive. Let's see, Lehman is certainly going to get through. Going to be Endinator as well. Bird, will Shadow get past? It's going to be very close between both of them. Shadow pinches Kruzix to the inside line, but both of them lose out tremendously. They are now P4 and P5. Kruzix at this point, I believe he is safe, even though it's going to be even lesser chance of of Kruzix to clinch the title or to keep his title hopes alive at Mexico. If he finishes ahead of Shadow, he might have a better chance, especially if something happens to Shadow at the Autódromo Hermanos Rodriguez. For now, the gap continues very close. Endinator undercuts his rival Shadow, moves up to P2. Bird with a 3-lap undercut on Kruzix, a 2-lap undercut on Shadow, I believe, makes himself up from P5 to P3. So Bird, I believe, he has had the most positions climbed. Actually not, plenty of drivers with 4 positions, but that's due to the misfortunes of others. Bird, I believe, in race pace is the only one that has actually claimed positions. Ooh, Bird has a moment there. Shadow might be able to say something about that. No, he is too far away. Kruzix all over the gearbox of the Williams. The Williams doesn't have much ERS to work with. Kruzix carrying more momentum through 130R. Is he going to throw it on the inside? He does not. Shadow, though, he's scared by that and is going to take a different approach to the corner. Goes deep. It's going to be a traction battle now. The Red Bull needs to be mighty smooth on his throttle application, especially because of the bump out of the last corner. Mode 4 of ERS glued to Shadow's rear wing. Is going to send it on the inside. This could be the battle for the championship, especially if there's contact between both of them. There is not. Kruzix backs out from it, maintains P5 for the time being. Black Panther and Gulbavant come to blows, and the Belgian driver maintains ahead of the German. Both of them on 1-lap pole tires. Cisco loses the place to Corporal Carrot as he is 45 seconds behind the Toro Rosso. Once again, if anyone has another DNF or another big mistake, the Toro Rossos might claim another point. Kruzix, very close to Shadow, has lost ground to Bird, Endinator and Lehman. The top 3 are equidistant at this point. Kruzix is very close indeed to his rival. Blitzkrieg and J. Cole continue on putting up the pressure on Marky Mark, even though not as close as some other battles for P6 we have witnessed, but very close indeed. Are going to continue putting up the pressure on the Dane. The other Alfa Romeo is also sustaining pressure from Galbavand at this point. Sorry about that. So let's move up to the battle for the title contenders. I do believe nobody else is mathematically capable of winning the title. Only these two with 6 races to spare, because we haven't finished this one. Endinator gets the fastest lap of the Grand Prix, beats the lap that was previously held by Lehman. So Endinator and Lehman pull away from Bird. The gap has extended now to 2 seconds. Will Kruzix pull the trigger on it again? No, he does not, but he's going to keep piling up the pressure on Shadow. Shadow, I know how tough it is for Kruzix to know that, but Shadow is really struggling with his ERS. If Kruzix just puts up a lap where he just goes on odd lap even, and if he's smooth enough to keep the car on the track with the added speed and the added horsepower coming to the tires, is going to overtake Shadow. I have no doubt on that, and he might as well go on hot lap for another lap after that just to pull away, because Shadow cannot do the same. Shadow cannot answer. Shadow does not have the battery charge to answer if Kruzix decides to go on qualifying lap pace. So Endinator, capitalizing on a mistake from Lehman, is going to challenge for P1. He sticks his nose in there, a bit of daylight for the McLaren. He backs off though, and the pole keeps himself in P1. So good opportunity there from the McLaren. Bird takes also the opportunity to get the gap down by almost a second. Kruzix still trying to hunt down Shadow. Looking back, Marky Mark much closer to Blitzkrieg. J. Cole much closer to the 2 cars ahead of him. They are both getting pressure. I believe Cisco, yeah, it's Cisco, the Portuguese, right ahead of them. Gelbovand is not as comfortable as Black Panther on the second stint. Black Panther is pulled away by a second. Cisco is ghosted, but he's suddenly going to slow down to allow the other competitors to get by. So let's take a look at the onboard of J. Cole. Let's see how that one goes. Cisco slots right between Marky Mark and Blitzkrieg, goes wide. So Blitzkrieg is going to overtake him, and now J. Cole, fortunately with one of the latest patches, allowed the lapped cars to become ghosted. You can see how much damage Cisco is sustaining on his front wing, on the left side of his front wing. But there you have it. Lehman loses places. Lehman is in the wall. Lehman is in the wall. Not sure what corner this is. He has spun. Oh, he's going in reverse, which is not. That's Dunlop. Oh, and he's retired. Lehman has retired from the Grand Prix. Andy Nater takes the lead. And Andy Nater might take his first win of the season. Andy Nater, who has gotten himself 4 podiums in the last 5 races. Italy was the only race where he didn't score any points because he DNF'd. But he hasn't taken any wins this season. He has a second place at China, second place at Russia, P3 at Hungary, Belgium and Singapore. Andy Nater is now all on his own and has a big chance of claiming his first career win. Let's see how that goes for the British driver. He just needs to sustain the pressure from Bird and potentially from Shadow and Kruzix. Kruzix takes much more speed through 130R. Is he going to finally get it down to business? And no, he does not. Going to try the switchback on Shadow, even though that exit isn't the greatest in terms of that. Shadow maintains P3 for the time being, 2 seconds away from Bird. Shadow just wants to finish ahead of the Red Bull, give himself a better chance of clinching the title at Mexico, I suppose. He's not pushing for the win at this point. Kruzix has really deployed much of his battery. Shadow less than 15% on his battery, so Kruzix really is piling up the pressure. J. Cole also putting the pressure on Blitzkrieg, who's putting the pressure on Marky Mark. No moves or position done just yet, but look at that. Superior GR with the DNF from Lehman. Superior GR claims P10 and is on the cards for his first points finish ever in the season, because the points scored for the Toro Rosso team at Azerbaijan were from Colpro Carrot. So it might be the first points of the season for Superior GR. Let's see how that continues as Kruzix continues putting up the pressure on Shadow. Not many moves at this point, especially because almost half the field has been wiped out due to mistakes, just that collision, that 3-wide collision. Very dangerous moments indeed. And Archie, who has in the meantime given up from the race, but Archie, by no fault of his own, gets collected in a collision between J. Cole and Curly, fortunately ending any chances of a good result from them. J. Cole is currently holding on P7. He can still gain a few positions, but it is what it is. Kruzix putting the pressure once again on Shadow. Shadow on mode 4. Kruzix, it just needs like for one sector, force Shadow to use more battery than he's using in the past few laps, and then Shadow will run out of battery surely. Ooh, a touch on the grass there from Kruzix. Not exactly ideal. Gives up 1 car length to Shadow there, and that's exactly the opposite of what he needs to do. He needs to keep piling up the pressure on Shadow, forcing him to at least use mode 1 through these S's, for example, to not allow him to save as much battery as he's doing so far. Blitzkrieg pulls the trigger, oh sorry, J. Cole pulls the trigger on the German, gets by, moves up to P6. Just trying to figure out, because Blitzkrieg dropped down on his pace compared to Marky Mark. Looks like that was just a mistake. I thought for a second that Blitzkrieg might have gotten damage, but that is just a mistake. J. Cole now has clean air in front of him for a little bit. He's going to surely put the pressure on Marky Mark, who has 4 laps fresher tires. So Kruzix, let's see what he does. Shadow 40% ERS, Kruzix almost 80, almost double of the battery charge available. He needs to force Shadow to use a bit more on the next few laps. 7 laps to go here on this Japanese Grand Prix, and Endinator has pulled away as over 1 second of a gap. Shadow goes wide, Kruzix pulls the trigger. Is it going to be it at this point? And it is! Kruzix gets through Shadow and is going to keep just a little bit more life into his title hopes. He's finally has clean air. Can he catch up to Bird now? Shadow has to use mode 3 of ERS. Kruzix can get away with using mode 4. He used a lot of his ERS. 30% on Shadow, 40% or 50% rather on the Red Bull. And now he can try to catch up to Bird. Could he actually overtake Bird and get himself a few points on his pocket over Shadow, trying to claim himself better chances for the title? Gelbevand, 9th place, 5-second penalty. Shadow, I believe, had 6 seconds of penalties. Kruzix had only 3. I'm going to take another look at that. I was going to take a look at Endinator. 2 warnings, so no penalties. Bird as a penalty. Kruzix as a penalty. Shadow, 2 penalties and a warning. And 2 warnings, because he got a warning plus a penalty. Not sure if that's the penalty that resulted from that warning, or if he got the penalty and then another warning after that penalty. Not sure, but at least he has 2 penalties and a warning. So Kruzix, unless something happens to the Red Bull driver, Shadow is always going to finish behind the Red Bull. The Red Bull is pushing though, already pulled away 1 second from the championship leader, and is finally unleashed. He spent the entire race behind Endinator, spent the entire race behind Shadow now. Finally, he's able to start pushing. Let's see. 2 seconds to Bird. Can he bridge the gap? J. Cole continues on putting up the pressure on Marky Mark as we approach once again another fast sequence of corners. Marky Mark goes to mode 4 of ERS. Bit of a similar story as with Kruzix and Shadow. The car ahead is struggling on ERS. J. Cole can push for it. J. Cole can overtake the Dane and get away with it and claim P5 as his own, at least provisorily. Is of course, there might be some reports to the stewards and they might just penalize J. Cole or any one of the other drivers that were involved in that collision. Let's see how that one goes. J. Cole continues. Oh, and Blitzkrieg is out! Blitzkrieg is out. Going to try to figure out what happened to him. As we go on board with Gelbevand, who's going to get promoted to P8, Superior GR to P9, and Copel Carrot to P10. I'm really not sure what happened, because I didn't see the Renault there, but nonetheless, Superior GR is going to claim P9, Copel Carrot going to claim P10, and it might be the first time both Toro Rossos claim points in a Grand Prix, which is great for them. J. Cole still pressurizing Marky Mark. Shadow still losing out on Kruzix, who is now... He has halved the distance to Bird in 1 lap, 2 laps, but he's pushing Bird. Going to take a look. Bird has about the same amount of ERS, so Kruzix is giving away his advantage for the sake of being able to fight for the position. Endinator pulled off immensely on Bird, so maybe it was even a mistake from the Mercedes driver that allowed Kruzix to close in. Kruzix, fastest lap of the Grand Prix! 140.5, he needs the points, he's going for it. He has practiced this all week to be able to get the job done, and is now pressurizing the Mercedes. Going to be the same story. He's going to regenerate ERS while sitting behind the other driver, while being able to not use as much ERS due to the slipstream, and of course no DRS, but he's going to be able to keep the same speed as the car ahead, with cleaning up the air for him down the straights. Of course, dirty air is going to be also taken into account, but Endinator gets a 3-second time penalty. Bird has a penalty of his own, so Kruzix has a penalty of his own as well. So if Kruzix wants to win, Endinator needs to get another penalty, and Bird or Kruzix overtakes both of them on track. 4 laps to go to the end of this Grand Prix, and Kruzix might be able to just get renewed hopes for the title. Shadow can't keep up with the pace. 2 seconds behind the Red Bull, who's all over the rear diffuser of the Mercedes of Bird. The British driver really struggling to answer the pace of the German, as he's going to mode for a VRS, going to take the slipstream all the way down into 130R. He's going to carry more speed as well into the chicane. Is he going to send it? Doesn't go for it just yet. Going to wait for another lap. Cisco gets slapped once again by those drivers. And, ooh, tank slapper from Crucix, but Bird not getting a good exit at all. He's going to try to take the slipstream. Bird goes left, Bird goes to the right. He's going to cover the inside, getting squeezed. Crucix into the grass there, doesn't touch it. He's going to try to have a go around the outside. Is he going to be able to claim P2 from the Mercedes? And he does not. He's going to take the inside line now, but Bird getting a better exit out of turn 2 is going to continue in that second place. Cisco loses the rear once again, and we have Crucix after a brilliant moment from them. Good, clean, fair racing from both of them, but Crucix unfortunately wasn't able to get the job done, and he doesn't have much of an advantage on ERS at these points. Shadow did close in after that fierce battle between the two cars ahead of them, so we are going to follow now. Bird goes very much to the inside, goes defensive on that occasion. Crucix is going to push once again, coming out of turn number 12 into turns 13 or 14 of the spoon section. Let's see, goes a bit wider there, coming back, straightening out the exit a bit more. A bit of instability of the rear, you can see there. A bit of instability as we have yellow flags in sector 2. Not sure who's causing them. I can't quite see any of the gaps changing. Maybe it is Cisco. Let's see. Will Crucix pull the trigger on it once again? Bird doesn't have more DRS. Doesn't have more ERS. So, ooh, Crucix once again. Another tank slapper. He's getting desperate. He wants that second place. He really does want that second place. He's going at it, throwing all he can. Not enough. Not enough. Once again, going to settle for P3 for at least another lap. He needs to maybe try to save for this entire lap and then go for it on the last lap of the Grand Prix. And Shadow won't get his position due to the penalties. It's only between Bird and Crucix. Shadow could even finish ahead of these two. These two will claim the position from the Williams driver. So it won't be it won't be too many issues with Shadow. He's really out of the picture at this point unless one of these two gets a penalty from here on out. Crucix very close indeed as we approach turn number 11. Bird 10% less ERS. Not sure what's going on because Crucix seems to save more ERS, or at least be better with his savings compared to Bird, because at the beginning of this lap they had basically the same amount of battery charge. So it's really interesting to see how that one goes. Let's see who gets the better exit once again. Bird goes on the curb, or also Crucix also goes on the curb, but Bird did carry himself onto the curb for a bit longer. Bird, ooh, a bit of indecisiveness from Crucix there. Ooh, very close between both of them. Crucix not taking the best idea. He could have gone to the inside, but he froze up a little bit there. He wasn't expecting Bird to be that slow, or maybe wasn't expecting himself to carry so much speed through there, but he gets a much well-composed exit than last time around. Bird covers the inside once again. Crucix is going to have to make it stick around the outside. Bird goes on the grass there and Crucix make it stick. What a beautiful maneuver it is. Crucix climbs up to P2. And now he has clean air once again. I do believe it's not enough to close in on Endinator. Even if Endinator had another penalty, Crucix has a 1 second buffer, so he wouldn't be able to get the win. But Crucix has shown the entire race to be quicker than Endinator, so that might be what Crucix needs. Bird with a big tank slapper. Shadow catches right up to him. We also have Marky Mark, J. Cole and Black Panther in close proximity, so we still have this battle going on for P5. Black Panther, J. Cole and Marky Mark. Will we have some teamwork from the Alfa Romeo drivers? Not sure, but we are surely going to find out later on. Crucix going to start closing in on Endinator. I expect Endinator is using plenty of ERS. He's actually forcing the issue, trying to get away from his rivals. He has been able to capitalize on the battle between Bird and Kruzix, but Kruzix has been a demon today, especially since the DNF of Lehman. Kruzix has been an absolute monster. He was just stuck the entirety of the first sector. Shadow very close on Bird, not sure if he's going to attack or not. J. Cole glued to Marky Mark. Black Panther, he's doing the same to the rear diffuser of that McLaren. So that one goes. Gilbofan 27 seconds behind. Oh, will Black Panther send it down the inside? He does. Take a look at it. Kruzix takes another fastest lap. J. Cole has to open up to respect the space granted to Black Panther, and the Belgium gets through. The Belgian Panther gets through. Black Panther, the Belgian driver, gets through up to P6. J. Cole is going to have to answer this in some sort of fashion. Both Alfa Romeos are really losing out on ERS at this point, so J. Cole has a massive advantage. He needs to make it stick. Kruzix got the fastest lap of the Grand Prix. Still the gap is not below 4 seconds, so pretty sure, despite his best efforts, he just got held up by Andy Nater through the entirety of the first stint. If he was able to get past Andy Nater, maybe the conversation would have been different, but it wasn't. So Cisco finally retires from the Grand Prix, and we, from a 19 driver grid, it has reigned the entire race, and we only have 10 cars remaining. Not making mistakes is also a skill, and all of these drivers have at least not make, even if they did make mistakes, some of them, they didn't make as many mistakes as their competition. Black Panther gets a 3-second time penalty. J. Cole might claim the positions from both of his cars ahead due to that. Cisco has left the session, but there you have it. Andy Nater, classified in P4, got a great start to get past Kruzix, and took advantage of the mistakes of the Williams to cross over the line to take his first win of the season. Andy Nater is the winner of the Japanese Grand Prix. Kruzix gets P2 and the fastest lap, keeps his title hopes alive. Bird in P3, Shadow P4, Marky Mark, Ian Black Panther and J. Cole are going to be battling it out for position as well as they cross the checkered flag. So I'm just going to, once these cars cross the checkered flag, I'm going to get the positions sorted out to see what happens in terms of the battle. So after this race is done, there are only 104 points available, because we only have 5 more races to be done. J. Cole gets up to P5, overtakes both Alfa Romeo's Marky Mark P6, so his personal best finish, and Black Panther also gets his second best personal finish of P7. We have Gilbovan, Superior Giant, Copper Carrot coming to the line. And while that happens, I am going to put Kruzix in P2 with another point for the fastest lap, and Shadow claims P4. So from those two, the gap is 109 points, I believe, right? So Shadow now gets 280 points. Kruzix gets 171 with that, so that means it's a gap of 109 points, and we have, let me check, so 1, 2, 3, 4 races. We have 4 races left in the championship, 104 points. So there you have it. It's a 109 points difference, and Kruzix, and despite his efforts, won't be able to take the championship. He is out. Shadow, despite not appearing on the podium, he is the ILR winner, I believe. He is the ILR champion with a 109 point gap at this point, when there are only 104 points available to fight for. So there you have it. Shadow is the title champion. He's the World Drivers Champion of this season of ILR PC. There you have it. Andy Nater wins the Grand Prix. Kruzix starts P3, still behind Andy Nater at the end of it all. Bird in P3, Shadow in P4 on his debut without the line, gets the title wrapped up. J. Cole in P5, Marky Mark in P6, at least provisorily. Not sure if J. Cole is going to get any penalties or if any penalties are going to be handled after analysis of that incident between J. Cole, iCurly, and Archie. But there you have it, Toro Rossos, both of them in the top 10, from 16th and 17th to 9th and 10th. Pretty happy those two might be. Everyone from 10th downwards have retired from the Grand Prix. So this is it for today. Hope you all enjoyed it. If you did, give me a like button. If you did not, the dislike button is, as always, right beside it. Subscribe if you'd like to see more. Hit the bell icon for any notifications of whenever we are about to start a live stream or to post a video. Hope to see you guys next time, and have a wonderful day. Goodbye.